What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by my music. Since we don't do any sponsorships on the channel, I'll go ahead and shill my music, which is available anywhere you stream songs under the name Aftersound, of course. So please go check it out. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate the support. All right, guys. I was talking about this on a live stream earlier, just briefly mentioned it, kind of went through each of the tokens, and I thought it was worth expanding upon because I know there's many folks that are still very frustrated and upset with asset prices, and rightfully so, because things are down and they're down significantly. But I wanted to actually do a little bit of a deeper dive into why I'm much more bullish on the tokenomics of Splinterlands now, right? Versus maybe even where we were a year ago, maybe even where we were 6 months ago, right? So many of the different loopholes, inflation, whatever exploits, areas of exploit have been closed off. And we are now in a position where either new players coming in or naturally over time with the current player base that we have, things will resolve themselves. And so in that way, whether we get a bull run or not, whether we go to the moon or not, to me, it doesn't really matter because, I'm holding for the, ideally long term, and we will continue moving in the right direction, even if it's slow and steady. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go through each of the tokens here, not in any particular order. I'll just go left to right, and talk through why the changes over the past 6 months, a year, however long it's been, are putting us in a much better place overall. Okay, so let's start with DEC. Now, the big ones that have happened over the past year, I would say there's two, right? So we had the Soulbound unlocking. That was proven to be successful. We burned over 100 million, probably at this point, I don't know what it is, but we have essentially turned the DEC faucets off. So you can, the only DEC faucet that remains on is leaderboards, and that's something that we need to address. I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm open to hearing your ideas on that. Now, the thing is with DEC though, cards are a major source of DEC inflation. And before Soulbound reward cards, the the NFT versions of those were essentially DEC inflation. Like, they were just being printed like crazy, and whether there was a print limit or not, they could be burned for DEC, and it was essentially like, another faucet for DEC that was infinitely inflationary because we're always going to have reward cards. But that was not just turned off, it was turned negative, right? Because sure, people can play with the cards, they can earn with the cards, but that doesn't impact DEC in any way. But now, in order to unlock the cards, to make them tradable, you're paying 10x to whatever it ends up being, right? Like 15x the burn value. And so now it's actually become a net negative. So I would have been happy if they just shut it off, but now it's actually become a net negative for people to actually burn DEC through that. The other one that was also infinitely inflationary was gladiators. And we took a huge hit on that we are still recovering from today, right? 6 months ago, 5 months ago, whenever they decided to shut off the gladiator cards, the gladiator burn for DEC mechanism, right? Now it's burn for merits. Totally makes sense. They should have done it a lot sooner. They shouldn't have even mentioned it. They should have just done it secretly, because then folks like myself went and burned all of my gold foil gladiator cards just so I had some extra DEC, created a ton of unnecessary DEC inflation at that time. But you know what? It is what it is, and that's where we're at, right? So at least at this point, it's done. You can only burn them for merits now. It's a totally soulbound aspect of the game, and that's what it is. LPs. I'm not as happy about this one, but you know what? It is what it is. We decided to turn off the rewards for LPs. So therefore, stacking and staking, or not staking, but providing liquidity in LPs, I thought that would be like our Terra Luna moment, which probably was not a good way to design it anyway, because we all saw what happened with Terra Luna, and it definitely would have led to way more DEC in the ecosystem than necessary whenever we crashed. So that's not even there anymore, right? We're not going to get massive amounts of DEC thrown into LPs because all of a sudden SPS spikes up in rewards. The APR looks good on the DEC LPs, so people burn a ton of SPS for DEC. And then when the APRs go down because SPS goes down during a bear market, we have all this leftover DEC. That's not going to happen anymore, right? So those are three huge changes for DEC. Not to mention, there were many more syncs added in, right? So you had, I think one of the biggest ones recently was the Wild Season Permit, right? Which is now starting to burn a significant amount. You have tournaments, which I think we're in a trial thing for tournaments right now, but I think that this is a significant amount that's being burned for tournaments, and it's making it, people have to pick and choose where they want to play, where are they competitive. So all these different things have, in my opinion, put DEC in a much better position. Now, we still have probably a million more, or 900, not a million, sorry, not a million, but I was going to say billion, maybe like 900 million more that we would need to burn through, in my opinion, to get us back to peg, which is a lot, right? And maybe it's less than that. Maybe I'm overestimating, but that's fine. I'd rather be conservative. But, I was looking at how much we minted during the time period when Gladiator cards were burned, when, the LPs were essentially turned off. I'm sorry, the rewards for the LPs were turned off, and it seemed like we inflated the supply by like 400 million. Then we sent the team another 600 million, of which they're still holding on to almost 400, right? But that's going to slowly make its way back into the ecosystem. So that's a billion there, of which we've burned 100 million so far with, the Soulbound reward cards. Or the Soulbound reward card unlocking. So like it's been good in that sense, but there's still a long way to go. Now, granted, you do see that we're moving down every day now, right? We're burning several million DEC. I think it's a good run rate. We'll continue, and hopefully there'll be more catalysts in the future. Also, with this, recent promo, we've locked up like 50 million DEC in the DAO. Hopefully that'll be, a billion DEC at some point, or by the time that this is all said and done. And of course, the Rebellion sale, whenever that ends, if people want to buy more packs, that'll be another area in which we lock up more DEC in the DAO. So it's not just about the supply necessarily going down. We need to, we don't necessarily need to burn it. It can get locked up in the DAO for, something in the future as well. Okay, long-winded, but it's DEC, probably one of the most important, tokens in the game. The other important token is SPS. Now, with SPS, we haven't done as much, okay, directly with SPS, but we have turned off quite a few of the inflationary measures, such as like LPs, right? So we've either reduced or removed many of the LPs. A lot of those rewards are getting paid liquid, and a lot of people didn't like my spicy take on wanting to end staking rewards, but overall, we have seen inflation come down significantly for SPS. Not only that, it's also less inflationary overall. Like when I was doing the math on the, the SPS staking, it's paying out 5.1 million per month, I think. And keep in mind that I think that started at 7.5 million, right? So it's been reducing at 1% per month since the beginning, since its inception about 3 years ago, and it will continue to reduce. So just overall, there is less SPS hitting the ecosystem now because all of these pools, or majority of these pools, are just giving out, are reducing by like 1% over time. So in that way, there's less inflation overall now than there was a year ago, 2 years ago, and that in a sense is better. Not only that, we have a ton of direct utility for SPS, and probably the biggest part that I'm excited about, and again, this is not necessarily like a change to the tokenomics, but a change to the game, did remove a lot of the farming accounts. And I have to believe, because of the fact that we've been sticking around this kind of 0.007 range for a while now, despite Bitcoin going kind of up and down and playing, flirting with the 60K line, over the past couple of weeks and months. I mean, SPS is holding well, which proves to me, and I made a video separately about this, but it proves to me that like we're not feeling that same sell pressure we were before. Yes, we had a couple whales come in and buy and move the price, but guess what? The price didn't go down. It didn't float down afterwards like it normally does because there wasn't as much extraction happening. A lot of the people who are here are holding for at least the medium term, right? And so in that way, there's just less sell pressure. And there's probably people buying more every day. I am one of them, right? I am one of them. Again, not necessarily bringing outside capital, but definitely converting any other asset that I have within the game to SPS. So over time, I think that that's something that is going to be very significant. The fact that we've slowed down the supply, or the inflation, I should say, and we've started burning through a good amount. We're almost at 4, or actually over 4%, right? And we'll see where things head in the future. Okay, last one, vouchers. Now this is probably second on the list. I know I was called like the shitcoin in the ecosystem, but it's second on the list because it ended up being a major drag on DEC. And I have to give a shout out to both Crypto Eater and Bjangles from People's Guild. I know only the People's Guild proposal passed, but Crypto Eater actually opened my eyes to how detrimental the problem was, right? I would never thought of vouchers as a faucet for DEC. Like, I don't know why. I never put two and two together, and it never crossed my mind. I never looked at it in that way. But he made it click for me, right? Crypto Eater made it click for me, where it's just like, oh wait, if you can use vouchers anywhere that DEC could potentially be used, then yeah, it is essentially a DEC faucet. Probably one of the biggest DEC faucets because we're minting 40,000 per day. So that time period where we chose, right, between the different proposals, whether to sunset vouchers completely or, as you know, the community decided and the team went along with, doing this, streamlining voucher utility, that is one of the biggest impacts as well on this ecosystem, right? We're no longer seeing the drag on DEC. We're no longer seeing the drag on SPS. And I know, here's the thing, I know that the LP situation was botched, and a lot of the cards, Mana Warden, right, the first card that came out, a lot of those were bought super cheap, and we're seeing the impact of that because now the problem is we're seeing voucher prices go to an equilibrium level that is technically higher, right? Because that's just where the natural economy or the state for is for vouchers, higher than the value of the cards, right? So whether the card is good or not is kind of irrelevant. Whether the card is desirable, I mean, that is relevant, but it's significantly cheaper on the secondary market rather than using vouchers to go in and buy it because of that exploit. So it sucks. We have to recover from this. I think the team is planning to, buy back at least, some of the vouchers that they had to mint during that time. I don't know if we've never necessarily seen that yet, but that would actually only make the problem worse in a sense, right? Because then people will only be buying from whatever's on the secondary market. But again, that is a finite amount. And once that happens, right, then hopefully we'll see folks going in and using their vouchers for that. But, we're less than 3 months ideally from the next card. It sucks, but we're going to have to wait, and hopefully that card ends up being something that's actually pretty good. Again, I don't know. I don't know about Mana Warden, but I'm just saying, like, it's something that's highly desirable, and we're in a position where people aren't going to get vouchers for 1/10 or 1/100th of the price because of a mishap with the LP. So once that comes through, then I think we'll be in an interesting situation. Plus, whenever we get closer to the end, I think there might be a lot of people that decide that they want to go heavy in on Mana Warden if there's not that many out there, right? So either way, I think, all of the tokens are in a much better position now. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not saying that we're going to go to the moon. I'm not saying that we're not going to go down. All I'm saying is I'm just presenting to you the evidences, the things that have been done over this past year that have changed dramatically and drastically how these tokens interact with each other, how these tokens interact with the rest of the ecosystem, and how players interact with the tokens. And I don't know. I think my argument is compelling. I think that we are in a very good position. And if the market does turn, if Splinterlands, the company, is successful in bringing in new players, that could lead to very exciting times. Again, those are all if, right? Those are all if. But I'm just saying the baseline, the foundation for it has been set up. So that is my argument. I find it to be compelling, but I'm curious to hear yours, especially if you are on the other side of that argument. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That is all I have for you guys in this video. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.